topic is universal torque equation. Universal torque equation. So there is one equation that gives the operating torques or the net torques on every relay. The universal torque equation is given by tau net is equals to K1 into I square minus K2 into V square, sorry, plus K3 into V into I cos of theta minus tau minus K4, minus K4. Okay, so where I is the CT secondary current, CT secondary current, and V is the PT secondary voltage. K4 is the constant restraining torque due to spring or any other mechanism. Okay, so this is a universal torque equation. Here, by making some constants zero and by changing the symbol of few other constants, you will get any relay equation, any relay torque equation you can obtain by making some constants zero or by changing the polarity of few constants. Okay. Now, if you want overcurrent relay, for example, in overcurrent relay, the operating torque is produced by overcurrent element, that is CT secondary current. Restraining torque is provided by the spring constant. So the net torque equation will become simple K1 into I square minus K4. This is overcurrent relay. Overcurrent relay torque equation. If you want over voltage relay, just make your K2 V square, where V is the PT secondary voltage minus K4. So it will give over voltage relay. If you want a directional relay, similarly you will make K1, K2 0, you will get the directional relay equation. Likewise, you can get any relay equation from the universal torque equation. Universal torque equation. Understand? So one more topic which I wanted to tell you. So in a transformer, if the primary side is star connected and secondary side, the load side, suppose this is the source side, this is the load side. If the load side is delta connected, simply imagine the secondary of the transformer is connected to big induction motor. Okay. So in this case, how to detect the earth faults? Again, we are using a CBCT structure, core balanced current transformer. So as long as the three currents phasor sum is 0, the relay will not operate. If there is any leakage current flowing from any of the conductors to the earth, then what happens? The balance is disturbed. The CBCT, in CBCT, the currents are not balanced. So this will operate the relay. This will operate the relay, and which will give trip command to the circuit. So this is how you can implement the earth fault protection in the delta side of any transformer. Or in case of motor also, the same scheme we will employ. Only when three conductors are there, then you simply connect the CBCT. So an earth fault relay is essentially an overcurrent relay whose settings are very low. Usually with the current setting value for earth fault relays will be very small. Very small. It will be in the range of 10 to 50%. Current setting value 50%. It is nothing but an overcurrent relay with a lesser current setting. Understand? The second point which I want to tell you, if you want to, we already discussed this yesterday. If you want to do both combined earth fault and overload protection, combined earth fault plus overload protection, then in a transformer, yesterday we have seen a scheme where 3 overcurrent relays and 1 earth fault relay is used. Okay, here the same structure, but what is the difference? we are simply using only two overcurrent relays and one earth fault relay. Violet circles are the overload relays or overcurrent relays you can call, and this green circular portion is the earth fault relay. Okay, here we are reducing one overcurrent relay. Why? Because in this scheme any fault can be cleared. So in many of the objective exams, they ask, in a transformer or generator of small rating, the minimum number of relays required for complete overcurrent and earth fault protection. See, overcurrent means it can be either overload or short circuit or both. Don't get confused. Short circuit protection is nothing but the overcurrent protection. Short circuit or overload, both will contribute overcurrent. So in a transformer or in a generator whose rating is usually small, the minimum number of relays required for complete overcurrent and earth fault protection, its answer is 3. Total relays required is 3. So out of which 2 are overcurrent relays and 1 is earth fault relay. So that is the point. Here we are reducing one overcurrent relay. For smaller rating machines, they implement this scheme. Okay. So remember this point. For transformer or generator, the minimum number of relays required to provide complete overcurrent and earth fault protection is 3. 2 overcurrent relays and 1 earth fault relay. Understand? So just for your understanding, suppose if you take a star connected site, I'll tell you how this will work. Suppose here you have an overcurrent relay. Here you have an overcurrent relay. This circle is an overcurrent relay, and here you are having an earth fault relay. Okay. So this is one overcurrent relay. This is one more overcurrent relay. This is earth fault relay. For any of the faults, suppose here LG fault is occurring, line to ground fault. So what will happen here? This earth fault current will be sensed by this relay. So who will trip? Since the earth fault is instantaneous and current setting is low, so earth fault will trip. So for the LG fault on the Y-phase winding where there is no overcurrent. Suppose if a line-to-line fault occurs here, there is no earth fault, then who will trip? The current will flow like this. It will be circulating like this. So this overcurrent relay 1 will trip. This overcurrent relay 1 will fill for the line-to-line fault. Suppose if the line-to-line fault occurs in these two phases, then overcurrent relay 2 will trip. Okay. Again, if line-to-line ground fault occurs, then what will happen? Overcurrent relay or earth fault relay, because since earth fault relay is fast, it will trip fast. Okay, this is also protected. If a three-phase short circuit fault occurs, then this OC1 and OC2 both will trip. So likewise, for any of the fault, 2 overcurrent relays and 1 earth fault relay will trip and will protect the system. Okay. The next topic is distance protection of transmission lines. So The transmission line protection is called distance protection. So distance protection is a non-unit system of protection because all these distance relays should be able to provide backup protection, That's why this distance protection scheme is a non-unit protection scheme. We already discussed what is unit protection and non-unit protection. So in distance protection, the distance relay measures the impedance between the relay location and the point where the fault occurred. Okay, it measures the impedance between the relay location to the fault point and it compares with a set impedance. It compares with a fixed impedance value, which we have already set. Okay, if the measured impedance, that is the measured impedance is the impedance between the relay location to the fault point, if this value is less than set value, then relay will operate and isolates the faulty section. Okay, the line impedance is directly proportional to the transmission line impedance is directly proportional to transmission line length, because it is only series impedance. We are considering only series impedance. So the series impedance of the transmission line is directly proportional to transmission line length. Since the distance relay will protect certain length of a transmission line, it is called distance relay. Okay, so that is the concept. What are the faults that are covered by this distance protection? It covers the face-to-face faults in the transmission line, face-to-earth faults in the transmission line. It also covers the broken conductor. Suppose if one of the transmission conductor is broken, that also it will detect. It will also detect the VT means VT voltage transformer. VT means voltage transformer. The other name is PT. So if one of the PT, the system is healthy, but your PT fuse has failed, your power transformer fuse has failed, then what will happen? Your relay will assume that one of the voltage conductor is broken. Because it is not able to sense that voltage, what it will think? Because of the fuse failure of the potential transformer, it thinks that there is no voltage in one of the conductors. So that will also lead to the tripping. So the next is the deadline charging. Deadline charging is that already there is a short circuit in the transmission line, but it is in uncharged condition. Suddenly, if you charge the transmission line, then you are charging a transmission line that is already on the fault. So that is switching on fault. Deadline charging means you don't know that there is a fault in the transmission line somewhere. You have charged the transmission line. That is called switch on through fault. Such faults also it will detect. The last type of faults which it will detect is the severe power swings. That means the power flowing from source to load and load to source are severely swinging. So such power swings also it will detect. Okay. So distance protection or distance relay will detect face-to-face fault in the transmission line, face-to-earth fault in the transmission line, broken conductor or PT fuse failure fault, or the deadline charging. That means short circuit, closing the charging the transmission line which is already faulted, and power swings in the transmission line. Okay, the transmission line, one phase of the transmission line, because every phase will have one impedance relay. Okay, so at this point I am connecting the relay. So for impedance relay you have to feed both voltage and current. So this is the PT secondary, and here the location of CT is this one. So both values are being fed to the relay. So relay needs both PT secondary voltage and CT secondary current. Okay, so this, suppose this is the relay impedance relay. Let us call this Z relay. Okay, so it is sensing the current and voltage at its location. Suppose the fault occurred here at this point. Okay, so at this point the voltage will be 0. So it is the impedance of the line between the relay location to the fault point. So what relay will sense? Relay will sense the ratio of voltage at this point. Suppose capital V is the voltage at this point, capital I is the current flowing here, and the PT voltage is small v, and PT current, CT current is say small I. So impedance seen by the relay, impedance seen by the relay. So how much impedance it will see? Z seen by the relay is the ratio of PT secondary voltage divided by CT secondary current, V by I. Okay, so this much of impedance it will see. Okay, now if this Z seen by the relay, already have set some impedance for this relay, the Z set is some fixed impedance I have set. If Z seen by the relay is less than the set value, Z set, which is a preset value, preset impedance value, preset impedance value. Okay, if Z seen is less than Z set, relay will trip. Relay will trip. If Z seen, impedance seen by the relay is greater than or equal to the set value, relay will not trip. Relay will not trip. Understand? That is the philosophy how the impedance relay operates. Impedance relay operates. So he has clearly told here, if you can observe the first sentence carefully. So a distance relay measures the impedance between the relay location and the point where the fault is occurred. Incident means occurred, and it compares with the set value. It measures the impedance between the location of relay and the fault point, and it compares with the set value. If the measured impedance is less than set value, relay operates. If the measured impedance, that means here measured impedance is the Z seen by the relay. If Z seen by the relay is less than the set value, relay will trip. If the Z seen by the relay is greater than or equal to Z set, then relay will not trip. That is the fundamental idea. Okay. That is the impedance seen by the relay. Okay. That is given by the PT secondary voltage at that point and the CT secondary current at the relay location. Now impedance relay. First, there are three types of distance relays. One is impedance relay or Z relay. The other one is reactance relay. The third one is the Moore relay. Okay. So if you again go for the universal torque equation, what you are having, K1 into I square. So from this universal torque equation, we can get Z relay. Z relay is a voltage restraint. In Z relay, operating torque is given by current element, and restraining torque, opposing torque. Restraining torque is produced by voltage element. Voltage element. Understand? So from this, if we get the torque equation, what you're going to get, tau net is equals to operating torque is produced by current element, that is K1 I square. Opposing torque is produced by voltage element K2 V square, and spring there is a preset value K4. Okay, so if we neglect spring torque, that is your K4 will become 0. That means we are not assuming that the spring is provided for a restraining torque. Why? Because already there is a restraining torque because of the voltage element. So now what happens at a threshold condition? That means when the two operating and restraining torque are equal, what you are going to get? Tau net will become K1 I square minus K2 V square equal to 0. Okay, understand? So from this, what you are going to get? K1 I square, relay operates when the net torque is greater than 0. The net torque is greater than 0. That means relay operates if K1 I square minus K2 V square is greater than 0. Understand? Which implies K1 I square should be greater than K2 V square, then only relay will operate. Okay, so which implies if you take these terms that said K1 by K2 should be greater than V square by I square, which implies square root of K1 by K2 should be greater than V by I, where V is what? V is the, we already defined, V is the secondary PT secondary voltage, I is the secondary CT current. So from this, what you are going to get? A constant value, square root of K1 by K2 is a constant value. This constant value should be greater than V by I is the jet seen by relay. Jet seen by relay. Understand? So what is the conclusion? If this constant value, we are calling this as the set impedance, jet set. Okay, so if jet set is greater than jet impedance seen by the relay, which is given by the PT secondary voltage by CT secondary current, is less than jet set value, relay operates. Okay, if in otherwise, then relay will not operate. That is the condition. So in a RX plane, if you write the characteristics of impedance in RX plane is a circle. So this red portion is the circumference, the radius of this circle is jet set. Understand? Jet set is the radius of the circle, where theta is the impedance angle of the jet set. So if the jet seen impedance seen by the relay equal to jet set or greater than jet set, relay will not operate. If the impedance seen by the relay is less than jet set, then relay will operate. So here in this circular portion, the relay will operate inside this circle. Okay. So on the circle and outside the circle, the relay will not operate. That is the point. Okay. So this jet set is the radius of this circle. The impedance characteristics in the RX plane means x-axis is resistance, y-axis is reactance. So in this RX plane, our impedance relay characteristics are a circle with center at origin. So inside the circle, the relay will operate. Outside the circle, the relay will not outside or on the circle, the relay will not operate. Understand? So here I wrote reactance, it is wrong. A impedance relay, you can see their features. The impedance relay operation depends on both resistance and reactance seen by the relay. In this relay, operating torque is obtained by current element and restraining torque is due to voltage element. Impedance relay is non-directional. It will operate in all directions, so it is a non-directional relay. Impedance relay is a non-directional relay. Okay. Impedance relays are mainly used in medium transmission. Very important. Impedance relays are used for the medium transmission line protection. Medium transmission line protections. Okay. So impedance relay will occupy moderate space, medium space in the RX plane. Medium space in the RX plane. Understand? Okay. This is about the impedance relay. It is inherently non-directional. Okay. If you want to make it, yeah, tell me.
Sir, is there any other name for this impedance relay, sir? Like current restrained voltage relay? Is there any special names, sir?
Very simple. No, see, who is producing operating torque?
Voltage, sir.
Operating torque.
Current element, sir.
Who is producing restraining torque?
Voltage element.
So you can call this one voltage restrained.
Yes, sir.
Overcurrent.
Okay, sir.
That's it.
Okay, sir. Fine, sir.
It is called voltage restrained overcurrent.
Overcurrent. Okay, sir.
Okay. So gentlemen, what is important is impedance relay is inherently non-directional. It is used in medium transmission lines and it occupies medium space in the RX plane. So relay will operate inside the circle, on the circle and outside the circle, the relay will not operate. Okay. So if you want to make the relay, impedance relay directional, you have to connect, apart from the impedance relay, you have to connect a directional relay also. So directional relay plus impedance relay or Z relay will give such kind of characteristics. So now we have also included directional element. In directional element, we have seen that there will be one line above which you can make it to operate only in this shaded portion. The relay will operate. In all other portions, it will not operate. So directional, if you include a directional element or directional relay in conjunction with the impedance relay, you will get such characteristics. Understand? The next one is a reactance relay. So in reactance relay, the operating torque is produced by directional element. Operating torque is produced by overcurrent element, current element, restraining torque by directional element. So here also we are neglecting the restraining torque due to spring. So the net torque will become operating torque is provided by overcurrent, that means K1 I square, restraining torque by directional element, that is K3 into VI cos of theta minus tau. So this is the net torque equation of the reactance relay, because operating torque is produced by current element, overcurrent element, and the restraining torque is produced by the directional element. Okay. So again, relay operates when tau net is greater than 0. When the net torque on the relay is greater than 0, then relay will operate. So for relay operation, K1 I square minus K3 into VI cos of theta minus tau should be greater than 0 for relay operation. Understand? So that means K1 I square should be greater than K3 into Vi cos theta minus 2. Okay. So here if you cancel I, 1i and this I, and if you make this K1 less than K3 is greater than, if you take this I that side, it will become V by I into cos of theta minus 2. Theta minus tau. If you make your tau is a design parameter, if you make tau is equals to 90 degrees, you are going to get K1 by K3 should be greater than V by I. V by I is what? Impedance seen by the relay. V is the PT secondary voltage, I is the CT secondary current. Z seen into cos of theta minus 90. Cos 90 minus theta is how much? Sin theta. So that is, which implies K1 by K3 into should be greater than Z seen by relay into sin theta. Z into sin theta is how much?
Reactance.
Reactance. Which implies relay will operate when K1 by K3, which is a constant, is greater than X, where X is the reactance of the line from relay location to the fault point. Same concept. X is the reactance of the line from relay location to the fault point. Relay location to the fault point. Okay. So let us call this constant as the X set reactance value. So relay operates, reactance relay operates if X seen, reactance seen by the relay less than X set. Relay will not operate if reactance seen by the relay is greater than or equal to set value. Okay, that is the philosophy. So if you see the characteristics in Rx plane, suppose this is my line. Let me use the same greening, then life will become easy. Let me use this. So this is the value which I am setting. This is the X set, the reactance which I am setting. X set. So where my relay will operate? My relay will operate if my reactance seen by the relay is less than this value. That means my relay will operate for all the reasons below. It should not touch on the line, on the straight line also it will not. So below this one, my relay will operate. It has infinite space. It has infinite space below which this will operate. On the line and above the line, it will not operate. So on the line and above the line, it will not operate. So this green portion is the operating region. This red portion is the non-operating region. Understand? Okay. Green is the operating region. Red is the this one, operating zone, operating region. This is non-operating region. Okay. So what you have to understand here is the reactance relay operates only on the reactance. Okay. Its operation is independent of resistance. The relay whose operation is independent of resistance of transmission line, reactance. It only sees the reactance of transmission line and makes the decision. Okay. Why it is helpful? Because in power system in many locations, just for your understanding I'm writing. So in many of the locations, to protect we would provide arcing horns to protect against the over voltages, transient over voltages that occur in the system. Suppose this is an insulator string. Let us say here there is one conductor, here is one conductor. To protect this insulator string from any transient voltages, we leave the air gap. We provide the air gap. This structure is called arcing horns or horn gap, arcing horn or horn gap. So whenever overvoltage occurs, since sudden overvoltage occurs because of some transient, since the dielectric strength of air is less when compared to the porcelain insulators, so the arc will strike between these two. Instead of short circuiting the insulator string, it will short circuit the air. Okay, so with this what will happen, the arc characteristics are such that arc is purely resistive. So whenever such transient arcs happen in the power system, the impedance relays that are connected in the transmission line somewhere, they also see this additional resistance. Since the arc resistance is very small, so then what will happen? It will cause nuisance tripping. So whenever this transient arc occurs, the jet seen by the relay will fall below the set value and that will cause tripping. But this arc is transient in nature, it will come and go. So understand. So since arc is purely resistive, where there are severe arcs in the transmission line, we have to connect a relay which is insensitive to resistance. So here the operation of reactance relay is independent of arc resistance across rod gaps or spark gaps. They are also called arcing horns or horn gaps. So the relay that we can use in a transmission line where there are severe arcing, so that is the reactance relay, because reactance relay operation is independent of resistance. So reactance relay is used in short transmission lines where arcing is very severe. In short transmission line, arcing is very severe. So reactance relays are preferred for short transmission lines. Understand? Even reactance relay is non-directional. So to get the directional feature, again we have to keep the directional element. Understand? Then what will happen? The feature will be somewhere like this. So above this line it will operate, below this line it will not operate. Understand? So reactance relay is also used for earth fault protection. Why? Because the ground or the earth is purely resistive in nature, and depending upon the nature of soil moisture content, the resistance of the ground also changes, which may affect the relay operation. Ideally, what we consider the earth will offer zero resistance, but however, it offers a very small resistance which may impact the operation of earth fault relay that we have connected in the neutral of the transformer or generator. So to nullify that effect, to ignore that effect, it is better to connect reactance relay as the earth fault protection. Reactance relays are used for the earth fault protection because their operation is independent of the resistance. So the ground or the earth resistance will not affect our operation. Okay, that is the one more point. Reactance relay occupies the maximum space in RX plane. Reactance relay will occupy the maximum space in RX plane because you can see here what is the region where it operates. It will operate in infinite region below this line. So below this line in RX plane there is infinite space. So the reactance relay operating region is the highest in RX plane. Okay. Since this reactance relay takes the highest space in RX, highest operating space in RX plane, the reactance relay operation is severely affected by power swings. So we should not use reactance relay where the power swings are severe. That is, we should not use reactance relay in the long transmission. We should not use it in the long transmission. Okay. The last relay is the Moore relay or the admittance relay. It is called a Moore relay or the admittance relay. Okay. So here operating torque is provided by directional element and restraining torque is provided by voltage element. So again, if we neglect the spring torque, the net torque will become from the universal torque equation K3 into VI cos theta minus tau minus K2 into V square. So this is a directional element. The restraining torque is provided by the voltage element. So again, for relay to operate, the net torque should be greater than 0. That is tau net, or we can write directly, if K3 into K3 VI cos of theta minus tau, if this value is greater than K2 V square, relay operates. Understand? Now, if you cancel the voltage on both sides, what you are going to get? I into cos of theta minus tau divided by V. I am bringing this voltage, it should be greater than K2 by K3. For relay to operate, I by V cos of theta minus tau should be greater than K2 by K3, which implies I by V is how much? Current divided by voltage is the admittance seen by the relay. V by I is the PT secondary voltage, I is the CT secondary current. The ratio of V by I is the impedance seen by the relay. I by V will become admittance seen by the relay. Y into cos theta minus tau. If this value is greater than K2 by K3, some constant K2 by K3, then my relay will operate. That is the condition. If admittance seen by the relay into cos of theta minus tau, if it is greater than a constant value, that is K2 by K3, or you can write it as a set admittance. Set value you will write. Set value. Relay operates. If y into cos of theta minus tau is less than or equal to this constant, that is K2 by K3, relay will not operate. Understand? Okay. So admittance relay operates on the admittance seen by the relay. This admittance into cos of theta minus 2 should be greater than some set value, then only relay will operate. So if you plot the operating characteristics, you can see here this brick color circle, this red color circle is the operating region. So the relay operates inside this one. That means if the admittance seen by the relay is this value, then it will operate. Inside the circle it will operate, on or outside the circle it will not operate. Understand? Here the circle is appearing big, but it is a very, very small circle. It's a very, very small circle, because if impedance is equals to, let us say, 4 plus J3, then your admittance will become what? 1 by 4 plus J3. Here the magnitude value is 5. Here the magnitude value is how much? 0.2. 1 divided by mod 5 will become 0.2. So eventually the radius of the Z is 5, whereas the radius of Y is 0.2. Even though the region that the Moore relay occupies is the least, the region occupied by the Moore relay or admittance relay is the least. So inside that circle, the relay will operate. Outside or on the circle, on this circle, it will not operate. Okay. So more relay is the high speed relay. It is the fastest acting relay out of all three. More relay is the high speed relay because its operating zone is very, very less. In this relay, operating torque is obtained by directional element. Restraining torque is obtained by voltage element. That we have seen. More relay is inherently directional. Very, very, very important. The relay which is inherently directional is more relay. We need not keep additional directional element. By default, more relay is directional. By default, more relay is directional. So more relay is mainly used in extra high voltage and ultra high voltage transmission lines which are highly loaded. So basically it is used in long and high voltage transmission because the faults here requires fast clearing. So since it is a fast acting relay, it is used in long and high voltage transmission lines. This is also important. The operating characteristics are quite compact. Quite compact means small. Operating region is very small. So, and compactly, hence, when there are severe power swings, that power swing to fall in the operating region of more relay is very less. So, in a transmission line, if the power swings are severe because of faults or any other things, then what will happen? Then this operation of more relay is not affected by power swings. So it is used in the transmission line which has more power swings, that is long and high voltage transmission line. More relay occupies least space in RX plane that we have seen. And more relay is severely affected by arcing. So where there are more arcings, you should never use the more relay. You should never use the more relay because arc resistance is very small. There is a chance that it may fall in the operating region of more relay. So it will cause nuisance tripping. Okay. Remember the salient points which are important. So what I mean to say is that for short transmission lines, where we use the reactance relay. Why? Because in short transmission line, arcing is severe. We need a relay which is not affected by arcing. Medium transmission lines, we have to use impedance relay or Z relay. Impedance relay should be used. For long transmission lines, we use more relay or admittance relay. For earth fault protection, we have to use reactance relay because its operation is independent of the earth resistance. Power swings are severe. If power swings are severe, we need a relay that is not affected by power swings, that is more relay. Severe arcings are more. We need a relay that is not affected by arc resistance, reactance relay. Okay. So like this, depending upon the question, you can select this type of relay. This is the concluding remarks. Understand? So the last topic in this is of the transmission. So every distance relay, because it is a non-unit protection relay, it should provide primary protection for its zone. It should provide primary protection for its zone. Excuse me. So it should provide primary protection for the line under consideration, but it should also provide backup protection for the adjacent transmission lines. That's why the total operating characteristics of the distance relays are divided into 3 zones. So to achieve proper primary and backup protection, the distance relay has 3 zones of operation. Understand? Let me explain you what is this 3 zone. Let us consider a transmission line like this. So let this transmission line is from A to B and B to C. For protection of transmission line AB, I am connecting two relays, one at the beginning, one at the end. Let us call this relay as R1, R2. Again for BC, I am connecting one more relay. This is R3 and R4. All these are distance relays. Distance relays. They can be Z relays, they can be reactance relays, or they can be admittance relays. More relay, impedance relay, or any relay they can be. Okay. So the zone 1 means immediate protection. What is the zone of relay R1 and R2? It should protect this line basically. The zone of R1 and R2 is the transmission line AB. It should protect any fault that is occurring in this one. So basically what happens, this relay R1 can sense any fault from, let us call this is 0, 80% of this line. 80% of this line. So from 1 to 80%, from 0 to 80% of this AC line is called primary zone or instantaneous tripping zone of R1. Instantaneous tripping zone of R1. Suppose if the fault occurs here, if the fault occurs in the from A to 80% of the line AB, the relay R1 will instantaneously trip. It will instantaneously trip. What is the percentage of line that is remaining? 20% of this line and 20% of adjacent line. Okay, so 20% of this AB line and 20% of BC line. This is 20% of this line and 20% of this line. This will be called as the medium speed zone or zone 2 of relay R1. Zone 2 of relay R1. Understand? This is the zone 2. Okay. Next. %80 of the remaining line falls under zone 3. That is, after the zone 2 in the second transmission line. This is after this 30. That means you can calculate these values as zone 3. 120% of the line is zone 2 and 150% of this one is zone 3. Understand? Understand? So 80% of its own zone is the high speed zone. Next is zone 2 medium speed zone and slow speed zone. Slow speed zone. Understand? Here you can see for this diagram, green is for the 3 zones of relay 1. The green color is the 3 zones of the relay 1, numbered 1. Okay. So let me draw this green. The second one, red is for relay 3. Relay 3 zones are like this. For relay 5, the zones are like this. Because relay 1 direction, protection direction, relay 3 protection direction, and relay 5 protection directions are same. Forward protection they are offering. Now if you see, what are the normal direction of protection of relay 2? Relay 2, relay 4 and relay 6 are providing protection in this direction. Okay, so the zones for relay 2 is starting from this point. This is the zone. For relay 4, this is the, I'll use different color. For relay 4, this is the zone 1. Second step is zone 2. Third one is zone 3. Z1, Z2, zone 3. Understand? Backward direction, every relay will cover backward direction 5% only. Understand? So this is a 3-zone protection, 3-zone distance protection schemes. Every relay will have 3 zones: high speed zone, medium speed zone, and low speed zone. Okay, why this zone 2 and zone 3 are required? Because it is providing backup protection when their high speed zone fails. When the zone 1 of zone 1 fails because of some reason, then it will, the backup protection is provided. That's why we have 3 zone protection for the distance release. Okay, the characteristics will become, I am drawing the high speed zone in red. This is zone 1. That if the, suppose we are using impedance relays, if the impedance seen by the relay falls inside this first circle, that is red one, it is high speed zone. It will trip instantaneously. If the impedance sign falls in this blue region, it is zone 2. So it will have a time delay of 100 millisecond or whatever which we set, then it will trip. Okay, that is the medium speed zone. If the impedance seen fall in this category, then it is a low speed zone or zone 3. So it will have more time delay and then it will operate. Okay, this is the 3 zone protection characteristics of impedance relay. Similarly, for more relay, you will have this one. Red is the high speed zone, blue is the medium speed, and green is the low speed. Understand?